My name is Robert Churchwell. I'm the new head basketball coach here. Now, judging from that applause, I'm sure I'll see many of you in those seats soon. But I would like to introduce our event sponsor, Mr. Andrew Morehead from Bennett Funeral Homes. Please give him a round of applause.
You know, it is a distinct honor to be here tonight in Memorial Gymnasium that clearly is the house that Rut built. And along those lines, I have no words to describe the man that we are here to honor tonight. He is the most pious and humble man I have ever come across in my life. I had the opportunity, I graduated in a class of 33. I was number 3 in that class. Nobody needed to know how many students we had, but I was number 3. But in any event, Father Adrian, and we see by the attendance here, has clearly left his mark on all of us. And words slip me. There are no words to describe what Father Adrian has meant and continues to mean to me. In the state that Father Adrian is at his age, he probably will outlive me, honestly. And I hope he does. I do. But upon his passing, someone will have to pick up my stance. I don't know how far I'm going to get with it, but I am going to petition Rome for canonization of Saint Adrian of old BC. Saint Adrian of old BC, the founder of lost souls.
You said enough about me.
He's told me I've said enough. Yes.
God bless you.
I was lucky enough to have Father Adrian as a religion teacher my senior year. 2/3 of my class had Coach Hamner. I had Father Adrian, and that bond grew. And Father Adrian baptized and confirmed me at the Easter Vigil at the old St. Joseph's in 2002. And the cross of St. Benedict that I wear around my neck right now, every single day, is from Father Adrian. And words cannot describe, and I'm sure each and every one of you out there will share in this sentiment. Words cannot describe what Father Adrian means to each and every one of us. And Father, I thank you for your friendship. I thank you for bringing my faults to attention when they need to be. And you are the most pious and humble man I have ever come across.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I am here as one representative of all the great Benedictine priests and brothers who made the big sacrifices to bring evangelization to this great part of Virginia. I thank all of you for coming out and acknowledging that. And we always remember that I'm just a little drop in the ocean compared to all that went before me in the great work that they've done. I just thank God that I'm still around to be able to continue that work, because if it wasn't the groundwork that they laid, I wouldn't be able to do a thing. So I must thank all of you for the support that you gave them, just as the bishop said in church today. If it wasn't for the support of the people of this area, we wouldn't have done a whole lot either. So God first, Benedictine next, and all of you great people, thank you. Now I know you're hungry, so let us bless the food and ask God to bless each of us and the food that we're about to eat and those who have prepared it. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, which we are about to receive from thy bounty, through Christ our Lord, amen. Enjoy it. Thank you.
I want to tell you, my name is Garet Chester, and I was fortunate enough to graduate with probably the greatest class in Benedictine history. I'm waiting for the cat calls and everything. That's right. No, I actually was honored to be a freshman to the greatest senior class ever, I'll tell you. Class of 70. Those guys were awesome. They taught me everything I needed to know. But we are not here to talk about me. We are here to talk about Father Adrian. And you know, Father Adrian had a great effect on my life. I used to do a little clowning around, I guess, in class. And so I had a lot of quality time with Father Adrian, so to speak. But I also used to kind of do like impressions and stuff, and I learned to do my Father Adrian, and then Michael Jarrett, and Father Rembrandt, and Father Pat. And this was the beginning of my career. But I'll never forget, Father Adrian used to say to me, "Well, you'll never make a living doing that, Mr. Chester." Fooled him, didn't I? Probably one of the few that he said that to, that it didn't come true, but I thanked. It was a great time at Benedictine. Now, do we have anyone here from the class of 40? Okay, I thought so. Now look, I was told that we have to be kind to Father Adrian tonight, kind of like he always was to us. And so I am not going to say anything bad about Father Adrian. However, I have invited some special celebrity guests along with me, and I cannot be responsible for what they may say. My first guest tonight, Mr. Clint Eastwood. You know, Father Adrian once told me he was going to punish me for carrying the most powerful weapon in the world. I said, go ahead, make my day. And you know, I can't remember if I was out for 5 or 6 days. But you know, Father Adrian kind of reminded me of Peter Falk, Columbo. You know, he'd act really nice to you, and then come in at the last minute and, you know, oh,
Mr. Chester, you're one of my favorite students. You've done everything right here at Benedictine. That'll be all. One more thing. Right-hand side of the desk, middle drawer, take your pick.
Father Adrian, you know what that meant, right? Okay, I didn't think so. Does anyone know what that meant? I figured the class of 70 would. Probably had a lot of that. But actually, you know, Father, you didn't really remind me of Columbo as much as you did Marlon Brando as the Godfather. This was Father Adrian as Marlon Brando. I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse. I'm telling you, for years I had nightmares of waking up with a set of drumsticks on the bed next to me. Love you, Father. What are they? What are they? Look, he's deniability. What is that, you know? But I also have another special guest with me here right now, and he's only here through the magic of entertainment. Father Adrian, Mr. Johnny Carson. Good evening, Father. It's very good to see you tonight. And Father, I hold here in my hand several envelopes which have been hermetically sealed and stored in the back porch at Belmont Abbey. And the first one is Ringo Starr, Gene Krupa, and Father Adrian. Let's see. Ringo Starr, Gene Krupa, and Father Adrian. Name 3 people that are dangerous with a set of drumsticks. Oh, okay. No, I'm not going to drive this drumstick thing into the ground yet. You know, I had something happen to me. Did any of you see that great Catholic play out at the Abbey? It was The Nun. You see that one? Great play. Well, Father Adrian and I were at a little bit of a soiree before the play, and the host of the party couldn't take Father Adrian home, so he asked if I would. I mean, not home, but over to the Abbey. Now, that night was freezing cold, Father. I don't know if you remember this. Freezing cold, ice everywhere, and we had to walk down about 8 steps made of brick. So I'm like grabbing Father Adrian's hand, you know, really hard, because he was having, you know, a little trouble going down the steps. And all of a sudden I said, Father, don't you ever tell another cadet that I had your life in my hands and saved you. He was afraid I was going to throw him down the steps. You don't remember me that well, do you, Father? Now, I have one other person with us before we get started who's going to salute you. My good friend, Mr. Jack Nicholson.
Does he play golf?
Yeah, I thought you'd say that, pal. Well, how you doing? You know, I'm not going to say that Father Adrian drove me to the cuckoo's nest, but there's something about having a disciplinarian who was a Golden Gloves champ that really gives you a complex. Took me years to get over that, but Father, really, I just want you to know that I love you, you're the greatest, and that's the truth. Can you handle the truth? All right, now let's bring on some of our special guests with memories of Father Adrian. I didn't have these at Benedictine. Okay, first, I better get a little straight and serious here. Actually, I ought to bring Ronald Reagan on. My fellow Americans, first of all, about you, Father, I salute you. I played an officer in the Hellcats of the Navy. But about your career, well, thank you.
Oh, wait, let me introduce another politician, one of my favorites. Now, this fellow is, well, he's a real go-getter. He's 48 years old. No, I'm sorry, class of 48. I bet you love that one, huh, Tom? He was on city council in the 60s. He became mayor of Richmond in 77. That was those years when Benedictine got all those appropriations from the city. He served in Congress for many years, and he was a Navy fellow. And I believe his son and grandson, is that right, went to Benedictine? What would I know? I can't remember where I was 10 minutes ago. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honorable Tom Bliley. There you are, Tom.
Reverend Fathers, and honored guests, it's a real honor and a pleasure to be here. They asked me to say a few words about history. I guess when you're a class of 48, that qualifies you to do some of that. But I was thinking the courage that the Benedictine Fathers had in 1911 to come out here, which was then in the suburbs, and build this wonderful building, which remained virtually unchanged except for the addition of the gym until the fire. Really amazing. When we finished in 1948, there were probably 150 to 160 students, no more than that, and played football at City Stadium, played baseball at Bird Park, right where the expressway goes through now, and they played basketball. Robert Churchwell, he used to work for me when I was in Congress. Anyway, they played basketball at the Blues Armory. A lot of people don't know, but there was a very successful man in Richmond by the name of Fritz Sitterding the first, and he had a lot of stock in Virginia Electric and Power. And when they were building the streetcar line, came up Broad Street, came down Shepherd Street, he made a detour at Patterson Avenue over to Belmont so the streetcar wouldn't run in front of the school. I bet you didn't know that. Anyway, Father Adrian arrived shortly after I finished Benedictine. And he hadn't been here very long when some of the wise guys in the cadet corps, we didn't have Jesse Grapes then to keep the boys in line, they called Southern Materials and had Southern Materials send a dump truck up here full of gravel for Father Rock. I'm sure that evening in the Priory at the dinner table, Father got a lot of ribbon from his fellow monks. But those wise guys soon found out why he was referred to as Father Rock, because he was a rock, is a rock, and always has been. And through his leadership and discipline, the school has grown in academics and as well as in numbers. And it is fantastic, and a lot of it is due to what he has accomplished in his time here. Thank you.
The Honorable Tom Bliley. That was thank you, Tom. Now I got to tell you a quick short story. My mom, unfortunately, died when she was 51, and she knew she was sick, and so she decided to go to her parents' homeland in Ireland, and she died while she was in Ireland. Now they had to fly her body back, and believe it or not, they lost her body at Kennedy Airport. You can laugh, it's okay. She would laugh. But you know what we did? We called Tom Bliley, and he got on the phone to Kennedy Airport and found my mother. Thank you, Tom. All right. Super. One more quick guest. Hey, how y'all doing? President Clinton here. Hello, ladies. How are you? I just want to thank Father Adrian because he was the first one that had the gumption to hire female faculty here at Benedictine. Thank you, Father. All right, our next guest from the class of 81. This is an incredible guy. Matter of fact, he was the only man who answered my call when I needed him. Gene Kastelberg. Now, before you come up, Gene, let me tell him how famous you are. Gene, I told you he was from the class of 81 and graduated from Virginia Tech in 85. That wasn't enough. He went to MCV, VCU, got an MD. Was that enough? No. After serving as a residency in family medicine, he went back to school and graduated from U of R School of Law. Okay, so being a doctor wasn't enough. Now he wants to be a lawyer, too. Good job, Gene. It's okay. I'm just joking with him. And he is now working for the Department of Defense at Fort Lee, and I feel that we're in great hands. Come on up here and talk. Gene Kastelberg.
Father, I just want to say that my comments are not going to be cutting because when I was at Benedictine, the monks taught us to respect our elders. So, two things I want to, when I was honored with this privilege, I had some ideas about what I wanted to say about Father Adrian, but I emailed my class and to get their input, and it was amazing how a lot of the responses that I got were very similar to the ideas that I had. And the two things I want to say about Father Adrian, first is his competitiveness and his stability. I still remember over here in the cheering section, you look up in that corner and there was Father Adrian, very focused on the game. People would come in and he was very cordial to him. He would talk to them, but you could tell between his body movements and his gyrations and his moans and his groans that he was a very competitive person. And he wanted us to be fierce competitors too, because he recognized the qualities in a fierce competitor are also the qualities that make you successful. Things like preparation, dedication, pushing oneself beyond the limits that we set usually on ourselves, setting high goals and sacrifice and selflessness. Father Adrian wanted those qualities in us because he knew that those were the qualities that made for good students, good athletes, and good Christian young men. He set the bar high for us because he knew we could get it. You'll hear a lot of people say, oh, well, so-and-so has the qualities that they really could be successful. Father Adrian's attitude was a little bit different. It wasn't, you could be successful. It's that you should be successful. He recognized in us the God-given talents that we had. He recognized the sacrifices that our families made for us to be at Benedictine. And he thought that we should succeed also. A lot of my classmates said that whenever you come to a game or a social event and you would see Father Adrian, you always wanted to return that firm handshake and look him in the eye and say, hopefully that we succeeded, that we had achieved our goals. Even now, those goals are important as far as being a good father, a good husband, a good citizen, and also a good Christian. Although we were affectionately known as Dum-Dum, we knew that Father Adrian really wanted the best for us. We knew that we could achieve and that we should achieve for him. And just as a side note, I was here for the open house with my son a few weeks ago, and a lot of those same characteristics and points were made by Mr. Grapes and Coach Lilly. And all I want to say is, Mr. Grapes and Coach Lilly, I hope I haven't doomed my son for the next 4 years by saying that you remind me of an old monk. So, the other thing I want to say about Father Adrian is stability. The Benedictine monks take a vow of stability to the community for which they choose. And I even broke out the big fat Webster's dictionary that we have at home. Father, I didn't look it up on the computer, I didn't cheat. I got the big Webster's dictionary. And one of the definitions of stability is steadiness or firmness of character. Throughout my experience at Benedictine and all the changes that happened here, whether it was the move to Benedictine West, the fire and the rebuilding, the move out to the Abbey, or even changes in personnel, Father Adrian, you've been that stabilizing force. We always knew no matter what changes or challenges Benedictine may face, as long as Father Adrian was behind it or endorsed it, that Benedictine was going to be okay. That Benedictine was going to thrive and survive as long as Father Adrian was behind it. Now, I had a lot of great monks that influenced me here at Benedictine. And my father was a graduate of class of 44, and he used to always talk about Father Leo and Father Dan. And although you weren't here at that time, or were you? And I don't want to take away from any of those people, but Father Adrian is Benedictine. You are that steady, stabilizing force. And in closing, I would just like to say, I hope God continues to bless you, because I know He's blessed us with your presence in our lives and here at the school. Thank you.
Gosh, I love that guy. I love him so much. Once I was out at the Abbey on a retreat with all these wacko Christians, that are like, into Jesus and all that stuff. And so I saw Father Adrian, and I went up and gave him a big hug. And he said, "Oh, you're one of those, huh?" No, I love this guy. And anyone who went to Benedictine has to say they love Father Adrian, And for him to look around this room and see all these old men that were once his children. I mean, I'm not saying I'm old, but my grandson asked me to see that book I have with all the classic cars in it. He's talking about my Benedictine yearbook. But anyway, anyone here between the class of 67 and say 75? Okay. We belong to a very special group because we were the ones that we didn't need our uniforms for anyone to know that we went to Benedictine. Because when we were in Benedictine, everybody had long hair. But Father Adrian kept us with the right haircut. The new haircut rules are in. Your hair must be short enough on the top to be picked with tweezers and no lower than the tergis of the ear. And we said, "Tergis? It's a new word for us." Thank you, Father. See, I've got a Benedictine haircut tonight. Good. All right. Yeah, I do have hair, a little bit. Speaking of that, we have a great, one of the younger graduates that's going to speak tonight from the class of 92. The amazing and talented Bill Doran is with us. And Bill didn't get enough of Benedictine while he was here, because now he's back here, and he is, believe it or not, the Latin and theology teacher. Latin. I thought we all tried to get away from that, didn't we? Ecce quod bonum habitras fratris. Okay. So Bill, it was the class of 92. His father was class of 62. And he returned to teach in January of 2000, has been there all this time. Father Adrian was his pastor at St. Joseph's. Any of you go to St. Joseph's? you Latin fans. And he was also Father Adrian's Director of Religious Education at St. Joseph's. Now, I got to tell you one thing. I always thought that Joseph was part of a multiple name growing up with my mother. Jesus, Mary, and St. Joseph. It's all one name. Let's have it for Bill. Where are you, Bill Doran?
When God asked Moses to go to Pharaoh and ask for the freedom of the Israelites, Moses offered two primary excuses. Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? And I am not eloquent, and I am slow of speech. These sentiments were exactly what I felt when I was approached to speak here tonight. How could I accept? How could I refuse? Who am I that I should speak of Father Adrian, a man loved and respected by so many? Were Father Donald still around to ask his advice, he would have extended his massive right paw, wrapped it around me, and pulled me in, crushing the breath from my lungs. He would have said something witty like, "I've slept longer than you've been alive." It is true. Had I asked Father Adrian, he would advise me to pray more fervently, then say 5 Our Fathers and 3 Hail Marys, and now make a good of act of contrition. Father Adrian has been my pastor, boss, advisor, admonisher, and even my enemy. He has only tolerated me for the love of my deceased grandmother, Bernadette, who was the secretary of St. Benedict's Church for many years. It was certainly not for the love of my father, whom he nearly kicked out of Benedictine for using a Bunsen burner as a water gun. Not that that's ever happened around here before. While acting as interim headmaster, Father hired me to teach a Benedictine 13 years ago. I was fresh out of Christendom College. Yes, do the math. I graduated in 1992, finished college in 1999. Relax. I went to Benedictine. And after a Sunday Mass at St. Joseph's, he approached me as I was exiting the church and asked me if I was looking for a job. It was just what I wanted to do. So, first day of second semester 2000, I was off. In fact, I just filled out my application for the first time last year. 5 or so years later, the wool apparently still pulled tightly over his eyes, he hired me to run the religious ed program at St. Joseph's. We haven't spoken since. Over the years, as our lives have mingled like chords behind a computer desk, I have come to understand some things about this man who is so beloved of so many. I mean, a lot of people spent a lot of money here to be here today, and you, Father, would never have spent $100 on anything, much less yourself. Anyway, I have discovered 2 great secrets: what makes him such a towering man, and why, like Rasputin, he can't be killed. The first is that he follows the rule of St. Benedict as it was meant to be followed. He has internalized it. The second is that he simply refuses to eat fried food. It's true. Chapter 5 of the Rule of St. Benedict says, "The first degree of humility is prompt obedience." Father Adrian is a model, the model of prompt, joyful obedience. The school needs a disciplinarian. Call in the gold-gloved little drummer boy. The school needs a headmaster. Call in him who would rather have been in the classroom teaching, and then make him do it for years. The bishop needs a priest to say the old Latin Mass for the crazies whining about the great innovations of Vatican II, altar girls and guitars and holding hands. Call in the most conservative, level-headed priest in the diocese and make him stick to it for 20 long, agonizing years. Which makes me wonder, the school changed its name a couple of years ago and there was a big fuss. The church in the 60s changed the entire Mass. Where was the fuss then? So what is it about this priest of God that makes him so loved and respected by so many of all faiths? Father Adrian is a man without guile. He is always honest, never seeking to deceive anyone. He is himself in all situations, at all times, to all people, and has the humility to never try to be anything else. There is no deceptive bone in his entire body. I mean, have you heard his jokes? He makes the corniest jokes in the world. You say, "Oh boy," and he responds with, "What about oh girl?" And whatever you do, don't say, "Hey," because you know it's for horses or straws cheaper. Chapter 2 of the Rule of St. Benedict says that an abbot should rule his monks by two principles. First, he should show them by deeds more than words what is good and holy, and that an abbot shall not make distinctions among the people in the monastery. No one shall be loved more than others, except those who are found more obedient or observant in faith. And again, the abbot should show the sternness of a master and the love and affection of a father. Father Adrian exemplifies these three qualities in such an unselfish way that one must be devoted to him. He drummed your rear because he actually loved you. St. Teresa of Avila once wrote that God does not require the victory of us. God does not require victory of us. He only requires us to die fighting. Father Adrian has always told me that he wants to die in the saddle, still doing his duty without question or complaint, still fighting as a faithful soldier of Christ. He is never asked to lead or to be put in the limelight, and yet here he is, honored, loved, and obeyed by so many. The reason for this is very simple. And, by the way, it's the same reason they can't stay mad at him for very long. He has always done and always will do exactly what God puts in front of him every day, the best that he can, with purity, humility, and love. Thank you.
Bill, I don't know if I can talk after that. It's all true. It's all true. Well, Bill, you were, what is he? He's the Latin and religion, is that right? Latin and spiritual leader of the whole enterprise? Okay. Spock, get me to the, okay, never mind. Yes. Well, Father, we have another guest that really wants to salute you, and this one has been brought by a real miracle. Ladies and gentlemen, JFK, John F. Kennedy. Father Adrian, I want to thank you very much for helping me with the Catholic military vote in 1960. We appreciate that. And I'll never forget what Father Adrian said to me one day. It affected me greatly. He said to me, "Jack, ask not what Latin will ever do for you in your life. Rather ask how you can pass it." Thanks, Jack. Yeah. But I do love Father Adrian. I love him so much that I went out and bought one of those cassocks like he wears. And I dress up in it late at night sometimes. Stand in front of the mirror and say, the blind leading the blind. And you both fall in the ditch together. All right. Yeah, right. You know what? Now that's true. Now, since I left here, I've become I do have a ministry and all, and I read the Bible voraciously, and I've read through the entire Bible many times. And every time I come to that verse, I think of Father Adrian. I can't just read it anymore. I always says, well, okay. All right. Our next special guest from the class of '59. Yeah. How many 59ers we got here? The lovely and talented Augie Lange is going to come up and join us. Now, Augie's in real estate now. I've lost my notes on him, but he's a heck of a guy. And you know, if I could think of anybody I'd want to spend time with on a desert island, he'd probably be the last one to come to mind. But he's a great speaker. He loves Father Adrian, and with that in mind, I'll be glad to invite him up. Ladies and gentlemen, Augie Lange. How you doing, brother?
Oh, he's already warning me to be kind. When Jesse called me a couple months ago, he said, I want you to help roast Father Adrian. And I said, well, I don't think I want to do that. He said, no, you got to do it. So I haven't seen anybody roast you tonight. And you know I can do it. You know, when you roast something, you can have it rare, medium, or well done. I can get him as well done as you want. In 1955, we were freshmen together. Father Adrian and Father Donnie were ordained early summer, late spring, and we all came to Benedictine together. And I got my classmates, so we had this, our 50th anniversary, we had the we had 40, I think we had 47 or 48 boys in the class. I think 9 or 10 passed away, and we must have at least 10 here tonight, so that's a good representation. But anyway, Father Adrian comes to town. He and Father Donald will be co-disciplinarians. Now, if you know anything about Father Donald being a disciplinarian, it's like, well, Father Adrian was like a Doberman, and he was like a little pussycat. And they finally, I don't know whether time gets away from me. I don't think Father Donald lasted too long. They got rid of him, sent him to the library or something. He just simply wasn't mean enough. So Father Adrian, in all due respect, in 1955, if you went to T.J., John Marshall, one of these other schools, and you got expelled, somehow or another you found your way to Benedictine. In fact, we had some fifth-year students. And when Father Adrian got there, I mean, it just seemed like every week, 10 days, somebody was being thrown out. He never smiled, never. And most of the school were scared to death of him. And the other, they just didn't care for him. And so one day, the first class I ever had at Benedictine was my religion class with Father Adrian. First class, his first class, my first class. And after about a month, one day after class, he came up to me and he says, you live in this neighborhood, don't you? I said, yes, Father, yes, Father. He says, well, you know, I'm new here. I don't know too many people. Do you think it'd be all right if I stopped by Saturday night? I said, Father, I'm not going to be there. I'm busy, but I'll tell. I'll tell my mother and father you might stop by. That's exactly how it happened. I didn't want anybody to know about it. I told my parents, my brothers, Father Adrian might come by. So Sunday morning, I got up. I said, did Father Adrian come by last night? She said, yeah, we had the best time. And I don't think I'm exaggerating. 40 years, you were over there almost every week. Father Adrian took me to New York when I was 16 years old. I drove his sister's car, showed me the sights. My biggest thrill was going to the Polo Grounds, seeing the old Brooklyn Dodgers play the Giants. Duke Snyder hit a home run. But over the years, I've learned that, in fact, the other day at the office, I wrote 7 other families I knew that Father Adrian has dinner over there regular. You go to a high-end restaurant in Richmond, it's a 50-50 chance you can run into him in there with somebody. And it's always somebody different. And I know for 30 years we've gone on his birthday to eat, but he can't, he's too busy. He can't go on your birthday. He's got people lined up to take him out to eat. And I said, the last time I said, Father, where would you like to go? Oh, I don't care. Well, just name a place. He said, well, how about Ruth Chris, Bookbinders, Hondos, and he loves those 5-star places. But Father Adrian, it's hard to, put into words. About a week ago, I was getting my Christmas tree lights out to put in the window. And there was a little box in my closet that was my mother's. I found this letter. It was a letter written July 17th, 1958. Now, Jesse, you were probably about 9.5. Let's see, that was 9.5 years before you were born. And I had been hit in the head at a baseball game, and he left to go to the Abbey for some, I don't know, it says in it he had to study. It was some training thing. But anyway, in the letter, he lets me know that he hopes to hit the ball didn't swell my head because it was already swollen enough. Huh? Oh, yeah, you didn't catch it. But I asked Father, I said, what is the best thing about being 85 years old? And he says, being 85 years old is no peer pressure. He doesn't have any peer pressure at 85. I asked him, I said, well, you don't teach anymore. You gave up the church. I mean, what do you do? What's your week like? What's your week like? He says, well, Monday through Friday, I do nothing. Saturday and Sunday, I rest. That is good. You like it? But like all young Catholic boys from time to time, I think you thought about the priesthood. Some not too long, but, most of them think about it. So I asked Father one day, I said, Father, what made you want to go into priesthood? And what was the defining moment when you decided you want to go into priesthood? He thought about it. He said, well, my friends and I used to go to social clubs, and the only number I could get from the girls was their social security number. I'll stop it. But I'm going to tell you something, it's the truth. He came to me, I was 16 years old, and he said, I want to start driving a car again. And so I went to my father, and I said, I'm going to take Father Adrian out. He used to drive, he hadn't driven in years. And my father had just bought a brand new, when I say brand new, Oldsmobile, brand new. So I took him out to Willow Lawn. It was no cars around. I don't know whether it was a holiday or Sunday or what. All I know is he got in the car, and it wasn't any jerky. Stopped, started, turned, did everything. We did every 30 minutes. It's perfect. Went in on Stables Mill Road, turned right there. I said, Father, we got to turn around. And it was my mistake, I guess, but we went on down the road there to Old Laurel Golf Course. And a car was coming up the other way, kind of hugging the middle, and Father kind of moved over a little bit too far. Before I knew it, the front end of the car was on the ground. He had hit a culvert there. So we called my dad. While we were waiting for the wrecker to come out there, he says to me, you know, the last time I drove, I ran a Jeep in the service into the wax barracks. So now I know. But anyway, my father's sister was sick, and we would go up to see her in the hospital. And one day I was supposed to meet him at the Abbey at a certain time. He called me. He was late leaving St. Joe's. And he pulled up in that white Buick. After all these years, that's all I could think about was that wreck. And I said, well, I'm going to make sure I drive. And I was thinking I'd have rather instead of having him take me up to Washington in that traffic, I'd have rather gotten in that rocket with Evel Knievel and gone over to Snake River Canyon. In closing, tonight, Father, when you put your head on the pillow tonight, you have a lot of memories here. A lot of people love you. You've got people here you taught in school, the children, the grandchildren. You baptized them, you married them, and all these people that I mentioned that you have all these dinners with. You probably will go down in history of the Benedictine order as being the biggest freeloader I've ever seen. He's never missed calling me or my brothers or my parents on their birthday. He's never missed a function in my family for 50 years. And it's amazing. You should have been a politician with all these people in here loving you. If you convince them they all love you that much, I think it's real tribute, and I want to thank you for everything, okay? Big guy?
You know, they told me not to invite Augie up here. But see, that is it. You know, there was all this stuff, Father, I got to tell you, this is like, I'm telling secrets here. But it was all this thing about don't be joking too hard about Father Adrian now, you know, because, you know, we don't want to, you know. But he is the reason we're all joking. I mean, he has always had a sense of humor. Like Augie said, not a good one, but, you know, he's always laughter and joy. You know, he exemplifies so many good spiritual qualities. And even like King David, right? The great King David, almost. But King David danced before the Lord. And I've never seen you dance, Father. Would you mind getting up and dancing? No, I got to tell you one thing. David danced naked. All right. Yeah. All right, one more special guest before we get on with our last tribute. Richard Nixon. I'd like to tell you that Adrian Harmening is the greatest principal ever. He was Pacific and Atlantic Fleet boxing champ. And he never ever used Corporal Rosemary, erase that last 8 seconds. Let me say this about this. I love you, Father. Trust me, when I lie to a priest,
Don't answer that.
All right, here they come. You asked for it. Talk about saving the most dangerous for last. And Father, I'll stand here just in case you fall. All right, after these guys do their stuff. Matter of fact, I think they may involve you in this, all right? Let's give a big hand and welcome. I don't have to know what class these guys, I don't have to let you know what class these guys are in because they were all in the same class. The class of 70, led by the devious and demented Donnie Ross. I turn it over to them.
I just really had a scary thought a few moments ago. The class of 70 trained Garet Chester and his class. I'm really scared about that. All right, fellas, do your thing. Father Adrian, we got a really nice show for you tonight here. I'm deferring my talk so that my classmates can come forward and showcase their talents for you. You know, I got to tell you a quick story, though, while we're setting up. When I was Googling you, I wanted to find out a little bit of background about you, and I noticed that in one of the articles, they referred to you as the Big A. Did you give yourself that name? I didn't think so. Tonight we're going to have a short one-act skit. It's entitled A Jury of His Peers. And I'd like to call out the following cast members, starting with our judge, the Honorable John Bainbridge Cates, our prosecuting attorney, Steve Roberts, our defense counsel, yeah, the monks, they kind of keep this together, okay, Abbot Placid Solari, the clerk of the court, Jim Lucas, the bailiff, Bobby Beckstoffer, and then yours truly as witness number 1. Rick Kastelberg will be witness number 2. And Pat Martin will be witness number 3. And finally, our jurors, led by Bill Hankey, Vic Dorr, John Nader, and Dave Garet. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you from the class of 70, a jury of his peers.
Okay. The Honorable Judge is now sitting. May God help us all.
That's God save us all, boy. Whatever. B&B.
Yes, sir. There's a half a fifth of water in there.
Oh, really? Very well. What's the first case?
How are you today, Judge? You certainly are looking wonderful. I hope.
Clerk Lucas, please dispense with all the apple polishing, civilities, and general brown nosing. Call the next case.
Yes, Your Honor. Have you been to the beach? It looks like you've got too much sun.
Yeah, that's certainly what it feels like.
More like Scotch burn, if you ask me.
What'd you say?
I said, let's turn to the next case, Your Honor.
I got my eye on you, boy. You could be the next case yourself. Now let's proceed.
Yes, let's do. Case number 1970, the class of 70, also known as KEGP, versus Father Adrian W. Harmening, S.O.B.
That's OSB, boy, not SOB. Come on, man.
You want a bet?
Yes, oh dear, I'm so sorry. That's OSB. Sorry, Your Honor.
Clerk, where's the jury? The gentleman's entitled to a trial of jury by his peers.
Yes, sir. But he has no peers. He has no peers.
Well, then just bring in old anybody and let's get this show on the road. Jurors,
Do you know any reason you cannot render a fair and impartial verdict in this case of the class of 70, aka KEGP versus Father Adrian Harmening, OSB?
Yes, we're still there.
Would you rather serve in biology class with Willie Crowder? Good, very good. Then let's move along. Now, what are the charges against this good father?
May it please the court. Gentlemen of the jury, we have several material witnesses who will describe in the most graphic, detailed, and emotional manner the full and exact nature of the transgression.
I object.
What's your problem?
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, let's see. First of all, there's nothing in my Quran. And second, there is no way that this jury is ever going to be able to understand anything about this case if he keeps using these $20 words.
Well,
Bailiff, fill the carafe for Lord's sakes. You make a good point, defense counsel. Do you remember the KISS principle we were taught at Benedict? Keep it simple, stupid?
sorry, Judge, where it was. Oh, yes, we got some witnesses.
Well, move on, son. Move it. Let's roll. Call your first witness.
The class of 70 calls Donald S. Ross.
Swearing the witness.
I object. My client, the Big A, never, ever swore once.
Not you, him.
Oh.
I bet he was tempted many times.
Mr. Ross, do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name, address, and your class rank.
Donald S. Ross, Lexington, Virginia. Class rank 87 out of 88. I'm still working towards 88.
87 out of 88. I thought I had you beat. Now, Mr. Ross, please tell the jury just exactly, precisely, and extemporaneously what Father Adrian did to you.
Say what?
What did he do to you?
It was horrible. I'm scarred for life. I tremble at the thought even now. Yes.
Well,
he made me study. He made me study Latin. Then he made me read Caesar's commentaries. Oh, the pain.
Thank you. Your witness.
What do you have to say to that?
E pluribus unum.
Out of many, one.
Tempus fugit.
Time flies.
Not in here, it doesn't.
What?
Nothing, Your Honor.
How many parts is Gaul divided into?
3.
Is that all you've got? You may step down, Mr. Ross. Excellent.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Judge, all right. The class of 70 calls Ricky Kastelberg.
Mr. Kastelberg, you promise to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
You are ever. You just wait.
Just simple yes and no will do, Ricky.
Yeah.
Mr. Kastelberg, tell the jury your name, address, occupation, and class rank.
I was number 2 out of 88.
Not you, him.
Kastelberg, WF, Richmond, Virginia, general contractor, class rank 56 out of 88.
You were number 2? Yeah. All right. Mr. Kastelberg, explain to the jury, the court, and everyone here present what this gentleman did to you.
Well, I guess you could say he taught me self-discipline.
Yes, go on.
After the first semester of my freshman year, our grades had dipped.
Well, we know that, but go on.
He called me to come into his office after lunch period.
Ooh.
And then he asked me if this was the best I could do.
Ooh.
And then he showed me his instruments of percussion.
Would you exhibit those?
Drumstick.
His what?
Drumstick.
Oh, no. You're lost.
And?
Then he suggested that he knew I could do much better and hoped that I would never have to visit his office after lunch period again.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kastelberg. I know from personal experience how difficult that must have been for you. You're a witness.
Mr. Kastelberg, did your grades ever dip again?
Do I have to answer that?
I'm afraid you do, Ricky.
Well, no, my grades steadily improved after that. And when I graduated, I was accepted by and entered VMI.
Objection! This is highly prejudicial.
He is your witness, doofus.
Oh, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kastelberg. Nothing further.
Next.
For my final and finest witness, the class of 1970 calls Mr. Pat Martin.
Do you swear? I used to. He taught me to stop.
No, listen, are you going to blow smoke up our kilts?
Oh, no, Your Honor. Besides, aren't there kilts up the street up there?
Go ahead, boy.
Mr. Martin, tell us your name, address, occupation, and class rank.
Pat Martin, Glen Allen, I plead the fifth.
I object. He can't do that.
Sit down, Mr. Number 2. Proceed.
Now, Mr. Martin, you've heard the testimony in this court. Please tell us in your own words just how this man has impacted your life.
Well, gee, that's not an easy question. Well, when I showed up here at BHS, I was a boy pretending to be a man. When I left, he had shown me how to be one. When I got here, all I could think about was girls and girls and girls.
Hey, girls.
Hey, gal. It was here that I began to understand, with his help, the meaning of the word lady and how they should be treated. Although I didn't think anyone could see it when I got here, I was scared to death and afraid of failure. He knew that, and he gave me self-confidence. He gave me courage and encouragement when I fell down, and told me, go out and live my life without fear. He showed me in how he lived his life, all of these things. I had heard a lot about God in grade school, but I did not know the meaning of the word, nor understand its importance in my life. Father Adrian showed me how a man could be an instrument of God, and how to show others the way to find that out for themselves. By example, it's funny. Throughout my life, I sometimes forget these things or was too lazy to act upon them, but they always came back and still with me today.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. I know this hadn't been easy, but is there anything else you want to tell us?
Object.
Sit down. I can hardly wait to hear the rest. Go ahead, Patty.
Well, Judge, I guess what I'm trying to say is that, well, without the help and guidance of Father Adrian and other teachers and priests he led when I was here.
Go on.
Father, without you, we, everybody here,
Love it.
never have become the sons, husbands, fathers, and citizens that we have all become, and I think that would have been a crime.
Ah, a crime. Now we're getting somewhere.
You really were 88 out of 88, weren't you?
Yes, sir, I was.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. You may step down. Do you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor. We believe the jury's heard enough. Johnny.
Yeah, I'm looking. Hold on. Gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
You betcha.
Well, tell us.
As to the first count, making us study, learn, and become prepared for life, guilty. As to the second count, teaching us self-discipline, personal responsibility, and a healthy respect for authority, guilty. As to the third count, molding and encouraging us so that we have become better sons, husbands, fathers, citizens, and leaders, real guilty.
Gentlemen of the jury, have you decided of an appropriate sentence for the accused?
Sir, yes, sir.
The verdict.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Father Adrian, will you please stand? Can you please? Can you please stand? Or will you rather just sit? You tell me. You're good. You're good. We the jury in the class of 1970, and all graduates, family, and friends here assembled, find you guilty on all counts, and you have been our teacher, our mentor, our leader, and our friend. Father, do you know of any reason this sentence should not be carried out?
No.
Good job, Father. Then, on behalf of the class of 1970, it is the sentence of this court that you receive a donation to your education fund in the amount of $1,970 and a little more, along with our gratitude and sincere best wishes. Case dismissed. Now, wait a minute. The judge, there are some good friends in this room who were fellow lobbyists with me for a lot of years, Mr. Paul Kitchen, Ray LeMary. The judge is going to ask for a point of preferential privilege, and they know what that means. And I would like to make a little bit of a statement myself. My classmates, 1970, most important people in my life. And I'm going to tell you a little story. In 1960, and my dad died, and I came to Richmond, Virginia, because my mom's family was here, and y'all all know him very well. I was in the third grade, didn't know a human being in this town. And my first day at St. Benedict's, met a boy named Jimmy Lucas and his family. Also that first week, I didn't have anything to do after school, so I wandered up to Benedictine Gym at 9 and met one Rutledge. He was probably probably the biggest instrument in my life at that time, along with Father Patrick Donahue, who I went to Bird Park with every day from the third grade through the 8th grade at St. Benedict's. So I've been going to Benedict. I went to Benedictine for 12 years. And I'm going to tell you, one Rutledge in this place, there is nothing like it between the oceans in this country, and it's one of the greatest institutions that's ever been created. And everybody in this room that gets to touch it, count yourself with all the blessings that you possibly can. My relationships in this school and what it's done for me, I've been all over the world. I've got friends everywhere, and I love this place when I think of it every day. And thank you guys for coming tonight. And when we get it done out there, you're going to stand out there and you're going to be so proud you ain't going to believe it. Thank you very much.
Marty, get the DeLorean ready. I want to take a video of this back to 1970 and show it to these guys. Let me tell you something, that's got to be the greatest tribute, because I think this is the first class in Benedictine history that all of them should have been expelled. And what a honor and tribute. And I'm telling you, if we took a video of this tonight and showed them what they said tonight, wouldn't they be flipped out if we took it back to when they were in seniors? Flipped out, that's a hippie term, Father. Okay. I love that guy. Anyway, now we're going to see a short video which people have contributed to from all over the place. A little honorary, your first movie, Father. You're a movie star. Please, big hand for Father Adrian.
But the nice thing about Father Adrian is it doesn't have to be true. You can say whatever you want to, and nobody really knows. So, you know, Father Adrian's name was the first one in the bell tower. Did you know that? That's true.
I just want to say on behalf of the Kane family, Father Adrian, you have been just an inspiration to all of us. Thank you for everything that you've done. On behalf of my father, Colonel Kane, I know if he was here, how proud he'd be of what you've done and what you've done for the school. You were such a great boss to him, great spiritual leader that you are, and more than anything, just a good friend to so many people that you've been involved with. And I know our family is deeply indebted to everything that you've always done for us and for the Benedictine community. So thank you and congratulations on all these years of service.
Hello, Father Adrian. I'm sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I did just want to say that over the years of teaching at Benedictine, whenever I've run into an alumni and tell them that I teach Latin, his face immediately lights up because he has all these fond memories of taking Latin with you. And so I want to thank you and say that I hope that I continue the tradition of your dedication to the classroom. And thank you for being such a fine example that I hope to live up to one day.
Arma verumque cano, Troiaque primus suborus, Italiam fata profigus, lavinaque venit. Those are the initial lines of the Aeneid, Father, that you had us memorize. I can't speak Latin, but I remember those words because it's a testament to your greatness as a teacher. Your wisdom, love of God, humility, kindness, and tolerance are the examples of life that I try to live by. You are my hero. God bless you, Father.
Hello from Kabul, Afghanistan. This is Brigadier General Van Coots, the Surgeon General, U.S. Forces Afghanistan, and the ISAF Joint Command Medical Advisor. More importantly, I'm a proud member of the Benedictine High School graduating class of 1976. It's really an honor and a privilege to be able to participate in this tribute for Father Adrian, and I wouldn't have missed it at all. I'd be there with you today were I not deployed here in Afghanistan. But I'm thankful to the internet to be able to contribute to the festivities. When asked the question, what's my most memorable Father Adrian moment, I really couldn't come up with a single one, but in my mind it's really 4 years worth of memorable Father Adrian moments. From his seeming grace, his dignity, his always peaceful appearance, even in the midst of a chaotic situation created by young cadets. I have the utmost admiration for Father Adrian, and over the years of my military career, I've tried to model myself somewhat after him. I know I speak for all the members of the class when I say, thanks for everything you did for us, Father Adrian, and we love you. I look forward to seeing you upon my redeployment, and until then, I'll see you on the high ground.
I remember Father Adrian punching me in the face one time when I mouthed off to taught me a good lesson, never mouth off to a priest or an adult after that.
My most recent memory of Father Adrian occurred at my 25th reunion. The class of 1979 was celebrating with St. Gertrude's at the Pavilion on the River Road campus. We were talking, dancing, and I guess drinking, and we were having the best reunion since 5 years before. Near midnight, I got a heavy tap on my shoulder, and I turned around, and to my surprise, there was Father Adrian standing in his pajamas and firmly instructing me that the party is over. I guess some things never change. Congratulations, Father Adrian, for your commitment and love for the school.
Our
find Father Adrian to probably be one of the most totally and completely qualified people for his job that I have ever run across. His love of his students, his compassion, his interest is just overwhelming.
Father Adrian, congratulations. I hope this evening is going well for you. Further, I'd like to thank you for taking a chance on me 32 years ago. It's been my distinct pleasure to work for you. Again, have a wonderful evening.
I see Father Adrian as an inspiration to me, being a young monk starting out and looking at what he's done for Benedictine and for the monks. You know, he served the school and was a headmaster for so many years, and the impact he made on so many people that are now older. And you look at when he remembers Sunday School graduated in 1975, 1916, and that memory, and so many people know him. There was someone that you were meeting, and you know, he's a graduate of Benedictine, and he said, I don't care what all you guys say, but as long as Father Adrian says something, whatever he asks me, I will do. So that kind of impact that he makes on people that always remember. So me coming in his footsteps, what kind of impact am I going to make? So it's an inspiration to me, a challenge, someone I look for. I look up to as an example, a great monk, a very dedicated man.
Father Adrian, sorry I couldn't be there this evening. Thank you for everything you've done for myself and my family through the years, and also thank you for allowing me to be part of the Benedictine family. God bless you, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
My favorite Father Adrian moments come from the first time that we met. First, Father Adrian told me that he had never worked a day in his life, that his careers in the Navy and here at Benedictine had been so enjoyable that he never considered them work. And the second was when he told me that he was from Connellsville, which is a little town outside of Pittsburgh, which happens to be the town next to where my family grew up in Pittsburgh. And that put me at ease, one, knowing that he was a Pirates and a Steelers fan also, but that I wasn't the only person at Benedictine who was on the wrong side of the war of northern aggression.
Hello, Father Adrian. Rob Whitman, class of 1977. And I want to thank you so much for all you've done there at Benedictine. Your legacy of leadership and direction to the young men that have come through there means a tremendous amount to them and their families, and I know it follows them today in the success that they enjoy. And I can tell you, you've had such a positive influence on my life. I today take the lessons that I've learned there with me. So thank you so much for what you've done for all of us in the Benedictine family, and may God bless you.
Good evening, Father Adrian. Barry Gibral here. Do I remember you? Yes, I do. In 1960, you were a disciplinarian, and I visited your office many times. Then you became principal, and I didn't visit your office as much. However, I do have a few, at least one candid moment I'd like to share with the rest of the people here. 13 years ago, when you interviewed me for the job in the English department here, we sat down, and I was very happy that you decided to hire me. And then I asked you about the salary, and you told me it was $12,000 less than I was making. And I said, Father, you know, that's $12,000 that I'll be losing. And he didn't say anything. He just looked at me, and I said, that's fine. I'll take the job. One thing everybody here needs to know, Father Adrian cared about each and every one of us. He still cares about us. We're still his boys. Thank you, Father Adrian.
And now the real thing, Father Adrian.
What can I say after an act like that? Anything I would say now wouldn't mean a thing. But I do have a few words I would like to say. I hope that you remember that many of the things that were said tonight have been embellished. Over the years, speaking to alums, some that I had in class, they tell a story. I have to scratch my head. I said, when did that happen? Or where was I? But it all comes from the heart. I understand. And I can't begin to say how much I appreciate all that has been said here tonight. But I have to tell you, as I said earlier, somebody else laid the groundwork. They started it way back in 1960. Monks from St. Vincent's de la Trobe. Then the monks from Belmont came, and they continued. I came 1955. The school was already, 44 years old. So there are 44 years that went before me. And all those people worked hard to give me a smooth road to go forward on. And because of what the Benedictines have done for the Richmond community, in many areas of the state, they evangelized, bringing Catholicism, education, something I hope that will continue for more than the next 100 years. But we want Benedictine monks, priests and brothers, want to leave a symbol that will hang in the new renewed Benedictine. And I would like Mr. Jesse Grapes, the headmaster, to come forward as we monks present him with this symbol to always remind everyone the great work that Benedictines have done, and also, above all, to thank all you through the years that have given us that support. Because you know, without that support, we couldn't even paddle down the James River. We'd have no paddles. So if Jesse would come, I'd like him to present what Brother Nolte here is going to bring up. And we hope that you, Jesse, I know you will, put it in a very prominent place. The symbol is a picture of the Blessed Mother of Fatima. Why did we pick a picture of the Blessed Mother? Because our mother house in Belmont is dedicated to Mary Helpeth Christians, which happens to be my birthday. We came to Richmond and we founded a new monastery, daughter of Mary Helpeth Christians, Mary, Mother of the Church. And so what greater symbol would there be than the Mother of God, who is a patroness of our country, to watch over a great school like Benedictine College Prep, than our Blessed Mother in the form of Our Lady of Fatima. Thank you.
Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I got to say, there's anyone who went to Benedictine, any gentleman who did, I think there's not a one that didn't love Father Adrian. Well, actually, there may have been a few. But to those, I just have two words. Man up. Thank you. Father Adrian Harmening. Thank you, Father.